Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Ashley Cosgrove. I am currently running the honors program, and I'll talk about that in just a second. I'm also a professor in the program and one of the co-teachers for Honors Forum, which you will take if you come and join our program. It's for all first year. Well, you have to take it in the first year that you're in the honors program. I just want to apologize again in advance. I'm going to be looking over at the screen to admit people and then my notes. So bear with me when working through it. So like what is honors? Basically honors is a interdisciplinary program. It's an academic program. It can count for your minor. And when I said that earlier that I was running the program, our director retired at the end of May, somewhat abruptly. And so we've been on a search for a new director for a while. We just had our program review last week, and we will be discussing with our committee next week, looking at the next honors director. So that's really exciting. You guys are here at an exciting time. We're going to kind of revamp the program, have new leadership. And so, yeah. So I'm just going to kind of go over like kind of the nitty gritty of the program, and then Ella and I are going to kind of talk about our honors forum class. And whenever I need to ask her for any student weigh in, I will, or Ella, just jump on in. Um, so honors classes. So Chapman prides itself on being a school that has small class sizes. And I personally think that that's key to education because you can go to some of these bigger schools, which are great schools, but you could be one of 300 people in a class. Um, in Chapman, sometimes we have larger than normal classes, but the average size is 24. And then in honors, our size is 12 to 15. And why that matters is that you're getting a more personalized education, which Chapman really does like to promote. I know my students. I like interact with them all the time. I see them on campus. Like I know their stories, and it makes a difference in so many ways. Sometimes, you're having a tough semester and you need someone to talk to. Sometimes you need a letter of rec for grad school and you need somebody that knows you well to give you the letter of rec. When you know your faculty, which you will at Chapman and especially in honors, they can write you the letters of rec. They can be that shoulder to lean on. They can give you the best advising because they know the students, they know the school. Um, all of our classes are small, like seminar-based classes. We kind of are in like a square shape, so that we're all facing each other. Um, we have so our method of teaching is Socratic. And if you're not familiar with that, it's basically discussion based learning. So when we come into class, like Ella and I and my other TA, Ava, we will kind of be like, okay, what do you guys think about the reading? What do you think about this thing? And we open the floor and we all talk about it. And we all learn from each other. And I learn from you guys every semester. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Or someone has a unique perspective. So it's just a really, really wonderful academic environment. All of our faculty come from elsewhere on campus. Um, so we get pretty amazing people. We have presidential fellows. Right now we have Jack Horner. He's a world famous paleontologist, and he's one of the honor students' favorite teachers. We have people from the law school. We have people from humanities and sciences. And actually, I was writing with President Strupa because he's our current president. He's stepping down in the fall of 25. And I was trying to get him to come back to honors and teach. And he said, I'd love to, but can you give me 1 year to take a sabbatical? So I'm trying to get President Strupa to come back and teach in honors because students love him. His classes are always really exciting. So we just get these really interesting faculty. Your classes are not going to be boring whatsoever. And because it's Socratic, there's no lecture notes kind of situation. It's all a lot of discussion. So you have to be an honors. I did notice a question in the chat, and I'll try to get back to it. I think it was something about the minor. So give me a sec to get back to all those. But so you have to be an honors student to take honors classes. Yes, but if we have space available, sometimes we'll open it up to non-honor students, but we don't ever let people in ahead of honor students. So usually you're in class with your honors peers. Um, Honors satisfies the intermultidisciplinary general ed cluster. It's a minor. So you have to have a minor or like double major. Ella, please like let me know if I'm off base at all on this. As a student to finish Chapman.
Yeah, honors can count as a minor, but you can also have another minor. So I have a major in political science and then two minors in peace studies and honors. So you're able to double up on that. It's just honestly about credits and if you're able to finish them in time. But yeah, just same thing that Ashley just said about everything accounting for honors.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the reasons why this works so well for you to double major, double minor is we have priority registration, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But it's a huge perk because so many of you guys are high achieving students, students with a lot of different interests, and by having a priority registration for honor students, it allows you to get ahead of people in your class so that you can get the classes you need so you can do more academically. Alternatively or together, like if you're wanting to study abroad, that helps also. But I'll go into a little bit more of that later. Most of our classes count for GEs. There's a couple classes that don't. I'll go over one of those in a little bit. But the honors forum class, which you have to take in your first year, counts for the community CCGE, which sometimes can be harder to get. So a lot of you guys will be coming in with a lot of AP credits, which will transfer to the GEs. And also want to apologize if you hear banging. My dog, my 65-pound puppy, is in the other room and she demands to be on camera. So if you hear anything, that's my dog. Um, so, but the other classes the other GEs you have to take to complete your education at Chapman, try to take them in honors. Our classes are way more interesting. I know I'm partial, but it's true. And you can kind of double dip. So when you could also in some of our classes, it can count for major minor credit. We're working on expanding that and we will be looking into that with the new director also, because right now we don't have as many in like the film school or the sciences. So that's something we're working on. Um, and then honors is part of the curriculum. It's not additional. So like you have what, Ella, how many units do you have to, is it like 120 or 124?
Yeah, it's 120.
Yeah. Okay. So 120 units, like you have to have those, but we don't make you do 120 plus our classes. Ours are just instead of other classes. So that's kind of like the nuts and bolts. Um, when it comes to like choosing your classes, I'm the one that's currently, we'll see what happens in the future, but right now I am the honors advisor. I also schedule all the classes. So today I actually started working on the 25-26 school year and reaching out to people. And so if you have questions about classes that are going to be offered, always come to me. You can email me or drop in. But we also have a lot of this information on our website so that you don't have to guess. So there's like a form that we update regularly on our website, and it shows you like the course number, course name, and how it counts and who teaches it. And that'll help you like plan ahead with your schedules. Again, I'm here for all of that assistance as well. So how to complete forum. Oh, hold on. I just realized I'm failing at my admit duties. Okay. Sorry, everyone who came in late. I'm failing on my admit duties. This will be recorded, so if you missed the first part, please um follow up with admissions to get the first part. So to finish honors, you have to complete 8 honors courses. This includes the forum class that I've been talking about and the capstone class in your senior year. And in between that, you take 6 classes. We have like a specific kind of guideline for that, but I'm not going to go too into the weeds tonight. But essentially, we recommend that if you take 2 honors classes per academic year, you'll be on track to finishing honors very quickly. Or not quickly, sorry, I looked at somebody's comment. You can finish the program easily and you'll qualify for priority registration. You have to maintain a 3.3 GPA. Again, this might change slightly with a new director. I just want to caveat that. And what does that mean? So we don't just like kick you out if you drop below 3.3. We realize that, you know, some semesters are harder than others, right? I've heard horror stories about OChem for years. Sometimes it's just harder, right? Maybe there's like a death in the family. Like we're gonna like kind of wrap around and see how we can what we can do to help support you. And as long as you're on board with us and you're in contact and you're working towards bringing your grades up, we're not going to kick you out of the program. But it is our minimum standard that you most students reach with no problem, and we do expect, but don't freak out. Um, so one of the requirements that we do have, which I always have to be kind of a little bit strict on, but it's really, really wonderful, is our honors conference. This is where, when you're a senior, you will take the capstone class. And in capstone, you'll do original research. It'll be interdisciplinary in nature. So interdisciplinary, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, but just in case you're not, it would be like, you know, you might be an English major and you could like do something with English and technology, right? Like everyone's really interested in chat GPT and AI and stuff. So like you could do some sort of research on that, right? So you create this paper and then you present your work at our conference, and the entire community, the program comes out to watch and support the seniors. And it's really exciting. We're actually the first program on campus to start graduation ceremonies. And so when you're graduating, we stole you, we give awards. It's a whole fanfare. It's a lot of fun. So that event is required for all students. And unless you're studying abroad, or I like to say study abroad or act of God, you have to be there. And if you don't go the first time, you lose priority registration, and the next time you're dismissed from the program. We are pretty serious about that one, but it's very enjoyable. So a couple things that we have that are like unique to our program among many, but two that I want to highlight tonight. I did mention that a couple of our classes don't count for GEs. One of those classes is an honors preceptorial, and that is a class that is designed by a student and co-taught with students. So this interterm, we have one of our best and brightest. She has created a class on languages, and gosh, I should have pulled up her syllabus before this because I'm forgetting the title of it. But she worked with our former director. They created a syllabus. And then you know, figured out what material, books, etc. she wanted to use. And then students register for the class, and in January they will like co-teach each other. But since it's an undergrad teaching other undergrads, it doesn't count for a sorry, I'm trying to add somebody. It doesn't count for a GE. But it's very cool. And I really like recommend that if you are thinking about teaching, it can go for anyone, don't get me wrong. But if you're thinking about being a teacher, this might be a really good opportunity for you to kind of test run that. Um, Another really cool opportunity that we have is study abroad credit. So if you study abroad for a full semester, fall or spring, we will give you honors credit for one of your classes. So Ella, I'll have her talk a little bit about this, but she, instead of taking 8 classes, she'll take 7. And we just really want to make it available for honor students to be able to study abroad if they want to. And if you can't do a full semester, we do have a class that goes to Italy every interterm. So that's in January. And we're working on maybe creating a study abroad class in the summer as well. So maybe I see Ella's working feverishly through the chat, I think. Thank you so much. She truly is my right-hand man. But Ella, if you want to like talk a little bit, you haven't gone on study abroad yet, but if you want to mention anything.
Yeah, basically, um, study abroad kind of covers the same sort of way that you register for classes normally. Um, you just do through like a separate application for the university that you're going abroad through. Um, but you do submit, it's called like a GCR form. And it's the classes that you are taking abroad versus the ones that you like plan to take for your major and minor. And you just make sure that Chapman like accepts those and accepts those credits so that you're not going abroad without the credits being applied to your course and your like path. So you just apply through that, like say I'm taking a gender, emotion, and power class. And that can count as like an upper division anthropology class, or it could count as my upper division honors class. And I just like specify that. And then Ashley does her magic and it like goes to counting towards my honors classes, if that makes sense.
And you're going to Portugal, right?
I am. I'm going to Lisbon.
Yeah. So a lot of Chapman students go to London or Madrid. I've had several recently that have been going to New Zealand. It's just a really cool opportunity, one that you probably won't have in your life again, to live in Europe on the cheap for 4 months or live in New Zealand or wherever else you want to go. I say Europe because that's where most people go, but there's all sorts of opportunities. So, yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because it really does free up your schedule that with the priority registration. So priority registration, the way that it works is as long as you're on track with honors. So like you can't just join honors to get it and then you just never take honors classes. So as long as you're on track with honors, um, then you will get priority registration over everybody in your class from so you don't get it in the fall because the registrar's office has some sort of algorithm that they do. So for all of our first years this year, they got priority registration for the first time for interterm and spring classes. And so if you're a first year, you'll get ahead of all the other first years. Many of you guys come in with so many credits, you're kind of in sophomore standing already, and that's awesome. So then you'll be ahead of all the sophomores. Um, so it's a really good, like I said earlier, it's just so beneficial. Like so many of you guys have so many things, interests and things like that you want to study, major, double major. We've had triple minors. And so like being able to like get ahead of all of the rest of the students to get the classes you need is just like so crucial. It's such a great benefit. Um, and there's ways you can lose priority registration, but I'm not going to go into all of that right now. So we don't do scholarships. We're a small program as of this point. So we don't have academic scholarships. However, we do help students with grant money. Um, one of the ways is through conference attendance, and I'll explain that in a sec. And the other is like interdisciplinary grants. So like we had a student actually who graduated 2 years ago, and one of her short films was being shown at the Cannes Film Festival. You're like, holy moly, you know? So, but she needed help paying to get to France. So we helped her pay for that. Students that are doing research, interdisciplinary research with faculty, or maybe they got accepted to a conference, will help pay. We usually don't pay in full, but we pay as much as we can. And the reason is that we have more money to help more students. If you have, probably this isn't anywhere on your mind, I'll talk about it later if you come to Chapman, hopefully you will. But just something to kind of put in your noggin. So I mentioned conference travel. We do travel twice a year for conferences. We go to a national conference in the fall and a regional conference in the spring. And so if you're accepted to the conference, we pay for the bulk of the travel because we don't want like finances to keep you back from having this experience. So we just got back from Kansas City. Before that, we've been Boston, Seattle, New Orleans, like Atlanta, like all these places. Really fun to travel all these places too. In the spring, we're going to Denver. So like the places are really cool. It's fun to travel to, and we pay for your registration fee, airfare, hotel, ground transportation, things like that. And so basically when I'll go through the program and try to find all the free food for you guys. But otherwise, it's really just like buying food. We pay for the bulk of everything else. It's such a really good opportunity. Um, and if you're thinking about, I know might be pushing it a little bit, but if some of you are thinking about grad school, you're like, lady, I haven't even started college, but a lot of you guys know I want to be a lawyer. I want to do these things, right? Having presented original work at an honors conference looks great on your resume. So just to keep that in mind, if you join honors like everything else, I will bring this up again. I really, really think this is such a great opportunity, so I plug it a lot. So like our community, I'll talk about our class in a little bit, but for honors, our community is one of the best things I believe that we've got going for us. The students are just so supportive of each other and considerate. And I feel like if I had had an honors program like this when I was an undergrad, I would have done so much better. I truly believe that this program is great. The students are great, and you guys would be happy in this program. Our community is really strong. We do things just for fun, like we'll do fireside chats. We're actually having one tonight, or a faculty member will take you to, they'll host you for dinner at their house or a local restaurant, and you can just go get to know each other. You eat for free. Jack Horner lives near campus, and when he has people come over, he's got these great telescopes. So just like super fun, just community building. We do nerdy stuff like pie on Pie Day and Secret Socrates instead of Secret Santa and stuff like that. But it's just like a really um embracing community, for lack of better words. Ella, do you want to add anything from a student perspective?
Yeah, everything you said is exactly, I think, how we feel as students. It's also the community is really small within honors. I know almost every single person in every one of my 15 people classes. The professors, I know them by name, they know where I'm from. It really is a tight-knit community. We also offer resources that are great to students. Like free printing is awesome. That's a big one. Um, at Chapman, I feel like I'm constantly printing, and not having to pay printing credits is awesome. Um, I think my main takeaway from the honors program in general has been just like a chance to volunteer. We'll touch on that about our forum class. But it allows me to be involved more in my like community outside of Chapman itself. Um, yeah, it's also a place that like we all have our say. Like the Socratic based classroom setting allows everyone to participate, everyone to bring in their own lived experience into the conversations. There's also amazing classes offered. Like I genuinely have had some of the best classes that I've taken in college in honors. And things that are outside of my like initial discipline that I really love. Like I took Jack Horner's Dinosaurs last year or Justine's um, Vietnam War class, things that I wouldn't have been taking in my political science classes, but are super fascinating and interesting and like relevant to our life that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to take if it wasn't for honors.
Yeah, we've got some great classes and like just great people. We have because we're a small community, we have like a small little footprint at Chapman, but one of the things to look forward to, hopefully, is that they're supposed to tear down the building that we're in now and build a bigger, better, more like sustainable, beautiful building. And we're one of the people that is guaranteed spot in that building. So that's really exciting too. But we have like a common space and yeah, printing and we put food and snacks out and stuff like that. Um, it's just a really good community. If you're wondering how many, I think approximately 270 is our current number. Just to give you a heads up on that. So, other ways to like get involved with the community. We have a student journal. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. There was something that Ella said that I wanted to touch on and it went out of my brain for a second. When she talked about how students have a lot of say in the program, it's not lip service. Like Ella and another student are on the committee to find our next director. We really, really care about what the students think. We try to empower them, we try to include them in decisions and things like that, because it gives ownership to the community. And also because, I mean, you guys are the best of the best. So like we don't worry about you guys making crazy things. Like it's always just top notch. I call honor students like I should say, I digress a lot. And if you come to my class, you will see this. That's why Ella keeps you on track. I have a son at Chapman right now, and he's a junior. And so I say this lovingly, but I've got my honors kids, and then there's Gen Pop, right? And my kid is Gen Pop because he did not want to hang out with mom, so he's not in honors. But we genuinely have just like the best students, and they get super involved with the program, and they have a lot of leadership opportunities, and that's part of what makes honors so great. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So for like community and creativity, we have the student-led journal. The editors are all students in honors. So like I'd like to plug this a lot because sometimes people take classes or their major and they're not feeling like they have a creative outlet. And this would give you an opportunity to have that outlet. Or maybe you're like a big creative writer or artist and you want to get involved as on the editorial team. Like it's definitely something to look into. We're looking at expanding the journal at this point, maybe going campus wide. We'll see. Again, I feel like everything is with an asterisk of like with the next director. But I just wanted to plug that also. I think that's pretty much it in my notes. So,
Actually,
Yeah,
we have
Ella.
a couple questions
Yeah,
about
I saw them
the
popping up.
application
Okay.
process. And I was wondering if you could touch on that, like how they
Sure.
do that after the major application and yeah.
Yeah, so the way that you can apply to honors is as soon as you're accepted to Chapman, our application becomes available in the same portal that you applied to Chapman. And sometimes admissions, because we don't know who's applying to Chapman or who's coming, we don't have a way to reach out to students. Sometimes admissions will reach out. They'll see a student and think, oh, this student looks really like honorsy, right? And so I'm going to send them an invitation. But if you don't get an invitation, we still encourage you to apply. Like we look at the students in a holistic view, right? So it's not just GPA and SAT and things like that. In fact, right now with SAT being optional, you're not going to have that held against you if you don't take the SAT. You guys generally come in with so many credentials and high like scores and things like that. And it's great. So we look at other things. We look to see like, you know, that oh, my husband's walking in the door now too, so we're just gonna like add to the circus. Um, so we look at the whole student, right? We want to know that that you want to learn, that you want to be part of the community, that you want to do big things, that you're interested, and that you're just like, I don't know, you're more than your scores, right? The scores tell us some stuff. It does not tell us who you are. So if you don't get an invitation to apply to honors, but you want to apply, please do. Like it's just a shot in the dark that admissions helps us with. It's definitely not, you have to be invited to apply. Was there any other questions in here that I see like a ton. I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, is there a specific amount of students that we accept to honors every year?
So I'm not on the advisory council, and the reason is because I have a hard time telling students no, and everyone who knows me knows that. So I just take care of the ones that our advisory council admits. Typically, we will have approximately 80 students in the fall. We open for rolling admissions based on, numbers. Sometimes people drop for a variety of reasons, spaces become available, like different class sizes just allows us for different opportunities for admitting people. But essentially, like numbers have been kind of weird since the pandemic. And I hate saying that still in 2024, but it's true. But back in the day, in the time of normal, we would get maybe 350 applications and we would accept 75 to 80 students, just to give you kind of a ballpark. Again, I'm not on the committee, so I can't speak to it exactly, but I listen to them and I'm in meetings with them. So, um, I don't know if I should go through. Oh yeah. So Ella, you've answered a ton of questions. Are there some, if we miss you, please like just email me. You could just email honors@chapman.edu. Or my last name's Cosgroves, cosgrove@chapman.edu, and I'd be happy to get back to you tomorrow. Ella and I actually have class tomorrow, so I get back to you as soon as I can. And then like at the end of this, if we didn't get to something, like you can like unmute, I guess, and ask anything. Um, yeah, so I guess like for now, we can just kind of talk about the forum class because it's a really unique class. Um, it's co-taught by 3 faculty. And so the first class is basically like on interdisciplinarity, the value of liberal arts education, being a democratic citizen. And we don't mean like the politics of today, right? But like being engaged in active citizenry. The Wednesday section is based on logic, and it's led by a philosophy professor. The Monday class is currently a history professor. It was our director, and then we'll go from there when we have a new director. So Wednesday's the logic section. And then Friday is we talk about community and the importance of community and not just in like an act of charity, right? Like in an act of kinship. We live in this community, they live in this community, we are all community members. And as such, one of the requirements is to volunteer in the community to give back to Orange. This idea that came up between our previous director and President Strupa of if Chapman just disappeared, would Orange even notice? Would it matter? And so I'm really big on volunteering and being involved with the community, and that's like the big push in the Friday section. We also talk about communities on the margin. And so like we talk about trauma and how that affects people and communities. We talk about foster care, foster youth, incarceration, housing insecurity, climate justice. Ella's leading the class tomorrow on food insecurity. So I'll let her talk about her perspective as a student with the other classes, and then she can kind of talk more about, because we're both the pros for the Friday section. But I just wanted to let her add to the discussion on this.
Yeah. Forum in general, I think just helps students, especially freshmen, just be well-rounded in Chapman and in our community. The Monday section uses a book, Not for Profit by Martha Nussbaum, and talks about just, again, being a democratic citizen, and how we interact with the world. And it also is really interesting because we talk a lot about like education styles. So like standardized testing is a conversation that we have. Um, Things around that kind of realm of conversations. And then Wednesday is more of like mathy is not the right word, but like analytical kind of. It's like basic logic formulas. So like modus ponens and things like that. I'm not sure if that sparks anyone's interest or anything. Um, but it is a good class. It's a hard class. And a lot of students struggle with it, not with the workload, just like understanding and wrapping their head around it. But as soon as you get it, it is a really amazing basis for a lot of other classes taught at Chapman. It gives you like a logical way to debate in any conversation. You literally are taking like basic sentences and proving if it is valid or not valid, um, which really helps, especially if you want to go to law school, and things like that. Like logic is a super big part of that. And like business too, logic is great to just have that like basic level of understanding. Friday, obviously my favorite section of the class too. Um, yeah, we touch on a lot of different communities and a lot of different issues that are extremely relevant in our society, and a lot of issues that people don't really think of. And I think that that is what is so interesting about it is so many students come up to us after class and are like, wow, I had never thought about that perspective, or I'd never thought about it in that way. And students bring in their own perspectives. So we have students that lived through certain things, and they are able to share their like lived experience to give us all a better perspective, and kind of make it less of a looking from an outside in and more of like collective, we are all in this together. Um, yeah.
I think
That
that was perfect and eloquent and just spot on, and that's why you're a TA. But yeah, like we just, I really want to drive home. I keep saying the word community, but it really is a really good community. I believe in the importance of community. Humans are communal animals, and that's why a lot of us struggled during the pandemic. Like it's how we were built, right? And you guys are all really young, and a lot of you probably haven't faced certain things or thought about certain communities, and that's like totally normal and fine. I never want to shame someone. Like sometimes people are like, "Oh, I just feel kind of guilty. I didn't realize how like privileged I was." And I'm like, "Well, don't feel guilty about it. Like, you could acknowledge it. You can be very happy for your family of origin to like that raised you and all that, but don't feel guilty. That's just who you are, right? But just be aware of other people and how other people live, right?" Um, so that's kind of us in a nutshell. I noticed there's a couple questions that maybe I can go through, and if you have any others, and thank you for bearing with me like when I'm trying to admit people, and thank God for Ella being on here and taking care of some of the questions, because when the I haven't done this without my old director, and I was usually the chat person. I was like just not prepared for that. I don't know. My brain just didn't compute tonight. So um yeah. Is there any questions, Ella, that I missed? Or if anybody wants to unmute and ask anything, or again, like email me. I don't want to miss anything.
I'm also happy to drop my email in the chat if you guys want like a student's perspective on it. Happy to answer any questions. I know it's a
Yeah.
lot going through like the whole application process for many different schools. So I understand if you just want to talk to someone, or if any political science majors are interested in that too. I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah. Well, and Ella, you started as undecided, undeclared too, right? So like some students, they'll say, "Oh, I'm undecided, undeclared," like shamefully. I'm like, we love those students. Like, because when a student, I'm not saying if you have like, you know what you want, great, that's awesome. But like some of the most interesting students didn't know what they wanted to do because they had so many interests, right? So like, yeah, Ella like came in undecided, undeclared, and then found her way to poli sci and peace studies, right? Yeah. So, yeah. And to Ella's point, also, like, if you want to talk to any students in the honors program that are in a major you're looking at, like, reach out. I'm happy to connect you guys. I really feel like a student perspective is super important, right? This is a huge decision that you're making. I know that, like, it's overwhelming. I did this a few years back with my son. There's all these info sessions and all these applications and all these deadlines and all of this, you're like, oh, but I mean, we're humans over on this side. So if you want to talk to anybody, me or like students, like please feel free to reach out. Like working with prospective students and students is my favorite thing. It's the best part of my job. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
I will also say that the application process for honors is not extensive, and it shouldn't be scary. Um, my essay, looking back on it, I probably would not have written it on the same thing, but it is really for our council just to get an insight about like how you learn and what you are thinking, and like if you critically think about things and if you would contribute to our classes and our class conversations. So don't be scared to just apply.
Yep. Always just try. The worst thing is someone can say no. But there's that Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Hockey. I was telling Ella earlier, I was informing her that hockey's better than
I
basketball.
was actually going to say that that is a basketball quote. So,
No, it's not. It's Wayne Gretzky. I'm going to fight you on this. All right, guys. Well, if nobody has any other questions, like, I mean, I'll let you guys get back to your evenings. I know if you're on the East Coast, it's um to answer the question that came in percentage wise, yikes, I don't know. I could definitely look up the data for that if you wanted to email me, but you know, gosh, off the top, I don't know. But I can definitely, like, if you email me, I can definitely give you that data. But otherwise, yeah, you guys have a lovely evening. Reach out, email. If you missed any parts of this, please contact admissions. They're recording it. And good luck with all of your applications. And I hope that you guys come to Chapman.